Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston, and today I come to you asking for subscribe. Is that meme still relevant at all? Probably a few years too late for that one. Anyways, without further distractions, we are really here for the Oden deck list. As you saw in the thumbnail, this is going to be our Oden deck list for the beginning of the format. And there's no better place to start but with Oden himself. This leader ability allows you to always play with 2 extra Dawn. You should always have a card that you are willing to get rid of to open up 2 more Dawn. This is good mid-game when you can play a couple extra cards to take advantage of your on-play effects, and it's really crazy late game when you're actually playing with a minimum of 12 Dawn on board at all time. Um, Moving on to our character cards, we're going to start with 4 Capone Gang Beiji for an early defense. It makes you feel comfortable playing your Momonosuke's. It opens up plays with your killers, and it protects your Raizos. All cards you'll see later on with explanation. Uh, Next is for Momonosuke. This is your main searcher. It searches everything Wano, including your event cards, and you shouldn't miss with this card. It's not mathematically impossible in this build, but it is rare to miss at least one Wano card with this search. Moving on to 3 killers. This is the Set Killer from Romance Dawn. Uh, this killer has a blocking ability. So early game, you are defending your key pieces that even like a Momonosuke, that you want to maybe activate again, or just getting the ability to use his effect to draw early. You're going to be digging into your deck a lot with this build, trying to find your key combo pieces, and Killer is one of the cards that you will be able to use to take advantage of those combos later in game. Moving on to our Red Scabbards, this deck heavily revolves around this engine. Obviously, playing Oden, you're going to want to play your Scabbards to get those conditional effects that come up. Um, let's start off with Cat. We are running 4 Cat. Cat Viper is a great way to help you control your opponent's board. This will be good throughout the game. Resting a 3 or lower card, such as small blockers or small attackers, will help you clear board and really control the board state. And you'll see this reoccurring theme over the next 2 cards as well. Izo, they are our only 2K counter in the deck, and is the second card that rests opponent's cards. This time with a 4 or lower, which is similar to Cat, but more can affect more threatening cards and clear them before they can attack you and activate effects. Moving on to Okiku. Okiku is the last of this bunch with a slightly different activation condition, where you have to attack with Okiku to be able to activate it, but it rests 5 cost or lower characters. This really disrupts your opponent's ability to play, and it works well into the late game, affecting most cards in your opponent's deck, and really only leaving 20 cards in the entire game as of this recording unaffected by this effect. So a few honorable mentions like Queen, the Croc that sends cards to the bottom, and the Boa Hancock that draws are just a few that you might be looking to hit with this card. Moving on to Killer, we're running 2 Killer. This card KOs 3 or less rested cards. A great combo potential with the previous few cards I mentioned, especially Cat, where they both have the same requirement of cost, and allows you to create pressure if you would want to attack with him with a pretty expensive 2 Dawn to make him 5k if you would like to swing into leader. He's also a good distraction to force your opponent to clear him if you are attacking with him. Moving on to Ashura Doji, we're running 2. Um, with all of the control that we just mentioned, being able to tap your opponent's cards, this card comes online, and it has a lasting effect where his effect is active on your opponent's turn if they have 2 rested. So if they play their game out of order, they will have to get over a 6K defender instead of a 4K. So it's good to trip up your opponent. Attacking at 7K on your turn is extremely beneficial and most likely will get through most things. Moving on to Dogstorm. Like I spoke with Oden, being able to open up Dawn for more opportunities is a great way to play the game with more resources than your opponent. And most times you're going to end up having the ability to have more Dawn activatable, unless you're playing against a really strong ramp deck. Being able to reactivate one for the trade-off of an attacker that ends up being 6K is not a thing to hold lightly. Um, Moving on to Raizo. This is our draw engine. We love this card here at GGN. Being a 3-drop that includes himself in his ability, so as soon as he's tapped, his ability is active to draw, is a great plus for this card. Not needing to have 3 cards on board to activate, just one him and one other tapped is a great plus. And like I said earlier when I talked about killer, you're going to be drawing through your deck, trying to find those resources for the end game. And this is another card that forces your opponent to focus on it and not your leader, which is a nice way to stay alive. Moving on to the secret rare Yamato, he is a good card. This card's great. With this effect, how can you not want to play it? 5 cost, 5K power, and a counter with double attack and banish. It really has it all. And the Wano attribute, searchable with Momonosuke. Uh, it's hard not to want to play more of this card, but they can feel clunky, and he really wants to show up when they're needed. Um, And when he is on board, your opponent's going to want to clear him, leaving you open to attack multiple times with your Red Scabbards. If they clear the Yamato over a Scabbard, you get to attack twice when Kinemon's on board with that Scabbard. If they don't clear Yamato, he gets to go in for another double attack banish. A really threatening card in this deck. Moving on to Law, we're running 2 of the Law. This character is a blocker with an effect that resembles its leader counterpart. Absolutely. Absolutely play this card. He is also targeting your 3-cost cards. Those 3-cost cards, if you haven't been paying attention, are the engine of this deck. So being able to pick those up and play them over again, playing an ISO, getting its effect, and then picking it up for a 2K counter later is an incredible plus that this law enables. Moving on to Kinemon. We're running 4 Kinemon. This is what we're looking for when we're drawing so much. We're searching for it, we're drawing, trying to get 2 Kinemons. I try to get at least 2 in hand so that you can play comfortably and play confidently that Kinemon's always going to hit board and make your opponent's day feel a little bit worse. With the ability to play a 3 or less 9 Scabbard from your hand, and then being able to reactivate that 3 or less card to attack again, is an absolute powerhouse, an absolutely uh, key card that you're trying to get to throughout your game. Moving on to Captain Kidd. My goodness, what were they thinking when they built this card? Probably the best green card in the game, arguably one of the best cards in this game currently. With a maxed out text block, how can you not want to play this? Listen to this. This card has an activate main that taps him to play a 3 cost or lower. So you're going to tap him, activating his on opponent's turn effect with a Dawn attached, of course. And then it's going to play one of your 3 cost 9 Scabbards. That is disgusting. Then on your opponent's turn, when one Dawn's attached, he's gonna be able to only he's gonna be the only card that is targetable by attacks. And sitting at 8k power, your opponents are gonna have a hard time to reach over him. And if they do manage to get 8k, 9k, you can either block with your law that you have on board, or you can counter out to continue to abuse this ability. Your opponent has to focus on this card, which means your attackers and your scabbards are able to continuously attack turn after turn. Moving on to our event cards, we're running Paradise at 4. This card is a 2k counter, and it restands a character card, which if it's played well and played properly, that's saving 2 cards from potential damage or being cleared off your board, uh, which is a great opportunity for you to continue to attack with that Raizo and defend the Momonosuke, uh, vice versa, or any other thing. Even in late game, it's nice. And then we have 4 Punk Gibson, similarly to what we saw with our 3 resting opponents' characters. Punk Gibson's going to boost you 4k power for that attack, and then rest a 4 cost or lower character, stopping potentially 2 attacks from your opponent that turn. You pump up, that character doesn't die, you rest the next attacker so that they can't attack again. All good things. Um, Both of these event cards disrupt your opponent's ability to attack, and it gives you more control over the state of the game. This is a control aggro deck in my mind. I want to control how your opponent plays, and I want to be able to attack multiple times. So aggressive control. Moving on to opening hands, I want to see Momos, I want to see Raizos, and preferably a blocker to be able, like killer, to be able to draw more often. Other good cards to see early are Kin in the early to mid hands. Um, Even getting a Kid early so that you know that you're going to have control over the board in late game isn't too bad, but I really would rather draw into that. Uh, Moving on to a few good combos that I've played through um, with the Red Scabbards and Kinemon. The best combo I like to aim for is Okiku. Being able to run that on attack effect is crucial to controlling your opponent. And then also Ashura Doji, which has a good effect with a boosted 7k attack. To be able to attack twice with that is a painful thing for your opponent to have to defend against 3 7k attacks in that one turn. Um, Through building this deck, we were really trying a few different things. We tried the vanilla Kawamatsu, but after realizing Raizo can affect himself, include himself in his effect, we decided Kawamatsu wasn't super necessary, especially with cards that you're going to be tapping themselves, like Momonosuke, and attacking a lot, so you won't need to have dead cards really in your hand that just help Raizo. Another card that we bounced around on counts is Dogstorm and Ashura Doji. These cards are really nice to have, and we were trying to balance between having more of these cards and more of our tapping opponents cards, and we really felt like this is a good balance, but moving those counts around might change as the meta changes and as this game develops. The last card I want to touch on is Yamato. Like I said, it's hard not to want to play this card, and we moved around on this and even pulled it off a few lists just to see how it felt. And he feels too good not to include, especially if you are considering a combo with Yamato on board and Eustace Captain Kid on board, allowing Yamato to attack multiple times and Kid to defend that board state. Whew, what a deck and what an exciting game to play. Stay tuned for the rest of our videos this week where we'll be covering another deck list and a match between this deck list and that deck list. Stay tuned, hit that bell, subscribe so you know when that deck list comes out and when that match shows up. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of this deck. Is there anything you would change? We really enjoy hearing your feedback on everything. So let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed it, we will see. Hope you enjoyed it and we will see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.